Welcome to the Ambitious Coach Lab, powered by 90. I'm your host, Dr. Cam Lawson. Each week, we explore the real tactics, tough conversations, and breakthrough moments that drive coaching success. Let's jump into today's episode. We have got Cullen Talley with us today. I am so excited. Founder of Exit Momentum. I would say the definition of an ambitious coach. When we were first starting out conceptualizing this, you were a prime example as we were talking through just what is an ambitious coach. So really looking forward to this conversation. And Cullen and I actually have a unique relationship where I was actually one of Cullen's clients way back in the dark ages. We were pinpointing exactly when exactly it was, but I have a unique relationship with Cullen. And in all seriousness, I do owe a lot of my professional development and career development to Cullen. He introduced me to 90, which is one of the main reasons why I am here today. So I'm really thankful for you as a human, but really excited to jump in. We're going to talk through some practice management tips of how he runs his practice and has grown Exit Momentum to have multiple coaches that are surrounding him and working for him. And we're also going to dive into some of his business development strategies that he's seen work over the years as well. But before we jump in, just Cullen, share a little bit more about how you got to where you're at today with Exit Momentum and a little bit of your journey.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks so much. Thanks for inviting me on. Obviously, honored to be a part of this and appreciate the partnership we've shared for so many years. So I grew up in a bit of an entrepreneurial family and just fell in love with it, quite frankly, and started in some roles and was just very curious as a young man, even in like high school and college. And so I just had this deep, deep passion for business and started to learn more and more and more and ask more questions. I'll spare you the whole details of that arc, but spent a number of years building, scaling businesses, successfully sold some, successfully got kicked in the teeth in some. And so was fortunate enough also to have some mentors along the way. So for a primary portion of my career, we were really working on the fintech innovation, the things that were happening where the mobile device and payments and retail and banking were all kind of converging together. And so we brought a number of technologies to market. In the midst of that, really started to understand what it took to grow and scale an idea into a company, to how things changed during that life cycle, what it meant to be a startup of 5 to 15 to 20 people really committed to a thing. And then you get swallowed by this giant organization. It's got thousands of people and lots of bureaucracy and lots of complications. And so it just really informed a lot of my thinking. In the last role I was in, I got recruited to come in and basically take over a holding company for some amazing entrepreneurs who are really good at branding and content and selling, but not so much on the operational side. And so came in and brought that in and got introduced to this work that we do now. And actually hired a coach and hired somebody to come in because I was like, I don't know how to do this. I need somebody to help me do it faster. And so I made the choice and made the investment with not knowing if it was going to work. And we saw tremendous results in the business that year, doubled it in terms of revenue and tripled it in terms of profit. And we made some hard decisions, including closing several profitable divisions down, which seemed like craziness to me at the time. But once I got into the system, understood how to focus, it really made a lot of sense. So it was that kind of foundation on which I decided, you know what, after all these years in business and the choices that I've made, I really want to go do this in the market with other folks. And I know that I'm qualified to do it. There's a spiritual component to that for me as well. It was very clear that I was being called to do this. And so those are the things that all kind of converged in the summer of 2019 when I founded and launched Exit Momentum. Is just me as a coach going out and doing this thing that we do.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. Shortly after that, we came into the picture, I guess, in 2020. So
You
not
got it.
long after that.
Yep.
So tell me a little bit of the journey that you have now, because it's not just you anymore at Exit Momentum. How many
Yeah.
do you guys have now?
Yeah, so we have 6 other coaches on the team, highly
Wow.
qualified, ideal coaches that we vet at a high level and require certain things of them. So we have 6 other coaches spread around the country doing great work, and we've created just an incredible connection between all of us and a mindset of really challenging the work that we do and the way that we approach it with our clients every day. But originally, it was just me. It was just me understanding this work, understanding business, understanding the intersection between marketing and sales and ops and finance and technology and valuation and those kind of things, and really bringing that to the clients and doing some great work with those clients like you and I got to do for several years before you joined the 90 team. And that was really the beginnings of that. And then looking at how to try to innovate around that and try to make it easier for clients to get the result they wanted. I feel like people didn't need more things to learn, more things to do. And so we've really obsessed about the simplest version of this work possible for our clients.
Yeah. What would you say, I mean, are some of the current goals that you have? I mean, 2020 feels like forever ago,
Yeah, yeah,
but it also wasn't. And so I
yeah,
think obviously a lot of just things that were happening in that year specifically that I think made us feel like it went a lot longer. But you have had a lot of explosive growth in that. I mean, going from one to six in what 4 years
yeah,
is it's pretty quick. So
yeah.
what are some of the next steps? I mean, is it six? Is it more than that? I mean, what does it look like in the next couple years for Exit Momentum?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So what does it look like for us going forward? Really, there's some key components. So we use the system we ask our clients to use. So we just finished our annual 2 weeks ago. So we're very clear on our revenue targets, gross profit targets, net profit targets, key drivers of the business, what it's going to look like, next year and several years down the road on our way to our BHAG. So we are practitioners of what we actually ask our clients to do first off. So we've got all that detailed out and are very clear about that plan, including growing to multiple millions of dollars in coaching revenue as a business, but most importantly, really getting great results for our clients. The other piece is coach wise, we are being, again, very selective. We're not trying to go crazy on that. We have a very particular model and a very particular vetting process for that. So we are looking at potentially adding, but it's going to be, let's just say there's some high hurdles to make it into this world and be part of the team. And we just want to continue to protect and create this really elite coaching team. So we're not trying to get to 20 or 50 or 100 people. Not at this point. That could change. But at this point right now, we're going to continue to work our way through. So I could see us adding, a handful more, maybe 2 to 4 more, in the short term. But that would be what wouldn't expect any more than that, over the next year. I do joke though that I didn't try to have one coach and now we have 6. So sometimes God's plan is a little different for me. And so I'm always just listening for that as well, where we're supposed to be led. So,
There you go. No, that's good. Yeah. As we were talking through some of the core competencies of running a practice, right?
yeah,
We were really thinking through, okay, what does it, I mean, what do you need to be good at to be a successful high impact
yeah,
coach, right?
yeah, yeah,
And as we were going through, I mean, your name kept coming up of how you run your practice. And so
yeah,
there's a lot of intentionality behind that
yeah,
of, I mean, just how you go about and design that from the tech stack you use to how you're actually setting up and tracking certain things.
yeah.
So can you share a little bit more on the intentionality of that, of how that plays out on really a day-to-day aspect for your practice, for not just you, but everybody in your
Yeah.
organization?
Yeah. So, I mean, one of our core values is to maniacally obsess over results. And so that maniacal obsession comes back to how we run the business as well. So, you as a coach, me as a coach, we have to require things of our current client. And one of the things that drives me crazy in this business is how many coaches don't actually practice those things in their business. We have a set of tools that we ask clients to use, but yet if I ask you to pull up your instance of 90, would I see all those things filled in for you? And I don't care if you're just one person, but as Bob said, it was a little bit more difficult when it was just me, but I still did it, right? So there's that piece just fundamentally as a foundational layer for me. The other piece is to think about the core functions of the business, right? If you're, my gosh, if you're a coach, I hope you understand these things, but how are you thinking about marketing today? Whatever that means for you, marketing and biz dev, you can call it either one. Sales, which in some ways is different than marketing and biz dev, right? Marketing, your voice, your brand, how you appear in the market, the way you show up, the events you attend, those kind of things. Sales, like how do you engage somebody through a psychological process where they meet you and hope that maybe you can help solve their problem, but over time they start to understand you can and then choose to engage you. Then operations and product, what is the actual thing you're going to deliver? What system are you going to deliver? What tools are you going to use? And then ultimately finance, how you're going to measure your success in that standpoint. And I would say in the ops and product, you need a technology component as well. At least we do in the way that we think about the market. So to me, those are the pieces that we're so intentional about. And I am obsessed about as well as the team is, both in terms of our ops team as well as the coaching team to make sure we're doing that well. Because we know if we really look at those fundamentals of business as coaches, it's going to translate to our clients.
Hmm. Yeah, because that's really fascinating on the practice what you preach, I guess is really what it comes down to. Because at 90, we have talked to thousands of coaches.
Yeah.
And you can really tell the difference
Yeah.
between I would call it the ambitious ones
Yeah.
versus the I don't know if I would say non-ambitious, but you
Well,
know
I
what I
would
mean?
just, well, Cam, I would call him a hobbyist, right? Like, I mean, let's
Right.
let's be honest, and let's take a step out of coaching. There's certain real estate agents you can talk to, and you're like, oh, he or she knows how to put
Yes.
together a real estate deal. And then there's others that are like, well, this is cute, and I can do this between because it's kind of this thing I'd like to do. There's a difference.
Yes.
And so if you were going to sell your house, which one would you choose? If you were going to have somebody guide your business, which one would you choose? Where do you want to be as a coach? On which side? Do you want to be a hobbyist coach or do you want to be an ambitious coach? Regardless of your financial situation personally, what do you actually want to be?
Yes, 100%. Because there is that you can tell the ones that are going in and they're running their practice the
Yeah.
same way that they're teaching the
Yeah.
organization versus the ones that are just kinda relying on their network, and it's a
Right.
different hobbyist is a great way to put that because
Yeah.
it is a different mindset. So, you referenced a couple, but, like, let's talk through I mean, obviously, we could talk through 90 and how you
Yeah.
utilize that 'cause as I know, that is a key part of how you run your business, but what other tools and
Yeah. Sure.
systems do you utilize in your tech stack? Can you talk a little bit on
Yeah,
that?
absolutely. Yeah. So I'll just go front to back. So on the marketing front end, obviously we have a website on WordPress, stuff like that. We use Go High Level now as our front end for running people through a funnel and then having them move through kind of CRM language. We used ClickFunnels in the past, but it moved to Go High Level and feel like that's a better solution for us. Operationally, we've been using ClickUp for quite a while for storing a lot of our content. Obviously, we've got Vimeo for storing videos and stuff like that. But what we're really excited about, and this is truly not something you and I have discussed, with what we're seeing with the knowledge tab inside of 90 right now, and even what we're seeing in the mastery tab, we're thinking about we can unhook ourselves from ClickUp. Not that ClickUp's not a bad platform. I just want less, and I want to be able to make it easier for my clients to use. So we really believe we're going to have a front end piece from a marketing, pipeline management piece on the Go High Level component in terms of technology and data and reporting. And then 90, we're hoping we're in the middle of. We have a rock this quarter. Marky does our director of operations to make sure we can get that built out to where we can turn everything that way and really sunset ClickUp for ourselves. And then of course we've got QuickBooks and we've got some other things in terms of those tools. But for us, from a delivery standpoint, it's that. Now, we use, and again, I know this is 90, but I want people to understand, we have differentiated ourselves because of the way we use 90, and we have won deals, and I'm going to say this again, I've said it many times before, we have won deals at times where we are two or three times the price of another coaching firm. And part of the feedback we've gotten is because we were tech enabled, because we were tech obsessed, they felt more comfortable because of where they were as an organization, both in terms of the type of people they were, maybe the age of the owners expecting technology. So regardless of what platform you use, I think there's a definitive advantage when you are committed to that and taking through. And quite frankly, one of the challenges we force our coaches through is making sure they become experts on the platform because some of them have not used it in the past. And so there's a very particular mechanism, which isn't always fun for them, to make sure they get really, really good in front of the client in terms of using the platform. So for us, we try to have as few platforms as possible. And so those are the ones that we primarily use today. We're constantly trying to evolve that. You already heard we've changed certain platforms before, but I do think for us, this advent of the knowledge and mastery tab is exciting, and really Marky on our team's driving that for us.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Yeah, in the show notes, we will put some of those link out,
Cool.
and we will
Yeah.
also go in and put some articles internally. Cullen referenced a
Yeah, because
couple.
I can't remember what's on beta and
Right,
what's not,
right,
and stuff
right.
like that,
Yeah.
because we're always
No,
giving
that's
feedback
great.
stuff.
Yeah,
So,
the knowledge sharing tool is in beta right now, which is
right.
great. Cullen's one of our ambitious coaches who takes it to the next level. But yes, we will go in and link out. We have some great helpful resources on
Yeah.
that to where you can utilize and learn more about how we're going through that. But and I can also speak to the integration of really I would almost call it the experience that clients go through. And again, this was forever ago when we went through this, but I will never forget that before I think it was our first
Yeah.
session
Yeah.
with you. We got set up in 90, and when
Yeah.
we got into that session room, I mean, whatever time it turned, 8, 9 o'clock, you hit start on that meeting
Yeah.
in 90, you had it on a conference room TV,
Yeah.
it had a timer, you were there running through things, we
Yeah.
had everything in front of us. It felt like the most cohesive experience,
Yeah.
and it was all interrelated. And I think a lot of coaches sometimes call it no tech in the sesh room or, whatever you wanna call
Yeah.
it, but there's a almost not I don't know if fear is the right word, but that they don't wanna rely solely on technology. How would you challenge that
Yeah.
mindset?
Well, do we have to? Because I've got some people on my team. Again, we've had some amazing coaches on the team that didn't have the 90 backgrounds. I've had to get them there, and I've had to change my thinking because I was a 90 client first. I was using
Right.
it in business that I'd hired a coach to come help us. So I already had familiarity, and I love technology. You heard my part of my background of what I've been able to build in my valuation in terms of working with investors stuff has been in the technology space. So it's just a bit of a passion for me in general. So we've figured out a path for our coaches to like recognize they don't know it, and then how do we leverage the whiteboard or paper notes and then just start to move into getting better and better and better. So my thing is, I do think people are afraid of it. I do think people have some stories and some excuses about what should and shouldn't be in session, and the reality is you can have those and it may cost you certain clients because of it. We believe it is a unique advantage, and you just need to move yourself through it. So if you aren't comfortable with it, start using it bit by bit by bit, and start adding it in that much more and more to where it fits you. And then the other point is, when you wind up with somebody who's in a session room with you, potentially as a support person, whatever you call that person, we might call it a concierge or client support in the session room. That person can be helpful as well. So if maybe you're not as technologically oriented and you get a little confused on UI, no problem. I think you still need to learn. I think you need to push yourself, but at the same time, you could actually have somebody fill in a seat for you that does client support that really becomes the expert on that for you in terms of leveraging that in the room. So my thing is, I think it can be there, but if you're not good at it, it's going to be a distraction, and you're actually going to look like less of a coach. So careful when you first start if you're not familiar with it, but once you are familiar with it, it can be incredibly valuable. And here's the other thing for me, y'all. I was traveling so much when I first started because my network's nationwide, not local. And so my thing was, it was the most efficient way for me to get the work done, walk out of session and not have 30 minutes or an hour worth of stuff to do. I could walk out of session with Cam and the team that he was with and know everything I needed to do was done when we closed out and we rated the session, because I had done it all inside of 90 to begin with. So it also made my life simpler. And that's what I was looking for. How do I get more done with my clients? And the other thing is, as I use it more, my clients use it more, and therefore I've got more visibility into what they're doing. So if I use it and they use it, I get to be a better coach because I've got more data to look at, more resource, more activity, and I can really track things in a better way versus having to get on a bunch of calls. That's the other piece of the equation for me. When used well, it doesn't require as much time for me to follow up with clients as well. So long answer there for you, Cam,
Yeah.
but those are some of the thoughts I have.
No, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. On the topic of, let's go back into how you're running your practice,
Yeah.
right? With your coaches. I talk to a lot of business coaches on a daily basis,
Yep.
and pushing, as we push, hey, practice what you preach, build
Yep.
out, know your KPIs, know your
Yep.
things. A lot of them push back on that. They're like, what do I track? Like, new clients coming in, new leads. I mean, it's
Yeah.
surface level. Tell me, if you don't mind
Sure.
sharing a little bit about some of the
Absolutely.
KPIs that you have for your organization that you're keeping tabs on, that
Yeah.
maybe you could recommend to, whether it's a coach with other coaches around or just a solopreneur that's just
Yeah.
by themselves.
Yeah. So I'll start and I'll talk about that differently. So from a marketing standpoint, we are tracking somewhat of followers in terms of what's going on LinkedIn, on the Meta platform in terms of things we're doing there with organic social, right? We're tracking opt-ins in terms of some of the things we do with ads, leads, those kind of things. So if you're doing some marketing up there and you want to track those things, some level of, are we getting any return on this effort? Are we getting people that are listening to us? Are they opting in to hear more from us? Are we getting, people in terms of actual leads? That's probably a little bit more advanced when people are further along. If you're earlier in the process, to me, it's literally some of the basic activities, right? So for us, we have a discovery meeting, which is, the kind of that 15 to 30 minute with a new, with an owner or owners of a business. So that's one we track every single week. Fit meetings, which is our chance to really dive in and figure out whether they're a fit for us and we're a fit for them. So we track that. We track active number of prospects, and that means somebody that's actually responding to you within a kind of 14-day window. If they haven't talked to you in 4 weeks, they're not active anymore.
Right.
So figure out what your guardrails are there. So active prospects, and then active clients. And the way we define active clients is they obviously have had to have signed the agreement, and they have to have a date on the calendar. So if people start getting wishy-washy, they're not an active client. And so those are some of the key things that we track up front there. Then in terms of number of sessions, You can track session rating. I don't find that real valuable. I know some people do. I don't think that's really necessary. You can track other touch points, how many people filled out we have a quarterly checkpoint that clients are asked to fill out between sessions. How many of those got filled out this quarter? Certainly revenue, certainly expenses, certainly profitability, those kind of things as well. As far as potential things we can track, we do have some coaches that track if they're interested in doing a certain number of speaking engagements, they would track that, or number of like direct call outs. So I've got some that are much more active outbound, just based on where the maturity of their current base of customers, and so they're setting a target for themselves for a certain number of like cold outreach in terms of that, and that could happen a number of ways. LinkedIn, knocking on doors, being at some type of networking event. So those are some of the key things that we would track in terms of that scoreboard every week and every month.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And we will also link out. 90 has a recommended list. We may even add of some of the ones that Cullen just mentioned, but we do have a resource if you are interested in, hey, where do I start? And you can do all of this in 90. You can build that
Right.
out. That's really what we get back to of the practice what you preach, running your own practice, just like you would coach the organization.
Right.
Run it that way. Go in, run your weekly meeting where you're going and keeping tabs on things. Keep
Yeah.
track of those projects of what you're going after. So that's really what we're getting at when we say practice management. But
Yeah.
another, I would say probably a the number one issue that most business coaches bring to us is business development. We
Yeah.
believe that's another core competency. You have to be good at business development.
Sure.
Not just going to happen. You got to go in and do the work. But talk a little bit about some of the strategies that you have found to be most effective as you've gone from being by yourself all the way through now. You've got 6 coaches that you've got to
Yeah.
generate business for. And I'm sure some of them do that as well, but talk through a little bit of that, of how you guys have been intentional on that.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that about us having to generate for them, because we want to generate for them and we do. But part of my requirement is that you have to be able to do business development or marketing and sales
Mm.
uh, as a core competency as a coach. Because otherwise, if you can't do it, how the hell are you going to coach somebody on helping them grow their business? So to me, there's an integrity issue
Yeah.
if you don't do this. You don't have to be the best at it. You don't have to go crazy, but you better be doing some of it. Otherwise, how can you really look in the eyes of the client who's trying to grow their business? Maybe he or she is having that challenge and you're not doing it. How can you actually represent that as something that you're an expert in and you can guide them in when you're not doing it? So to me, it's a challenge there. So we will never get to a place where our coaches are not required to do that on their own, where we just say, and we could get to a place, I could throw enough money, we're successful enough, I could throw enough money at lead volume to get that and kind of fill their book. I just that's just not our model and
Yeah.
not what I want to deliver to the market. So sermon over on that. In
Love it.
terms of what we see is it varies by person, right? It varies by person. So first is we got obviously a number of coaches on the team. One of our coaches has run peer groups in the past, and she does an amazing job at that and leverages that in all the relationships she's had. She's a speaker many times, and so she has an opportunity to do it that way. She just got a brand presence that already existed over the last 10 or 12 years of the work that she'd done even prior to us with one-on-one coaching and peer group that really helps her leverage, her network, right? I got another coach who joined us recently, and he's really into cars, and he's really a cool guy and likes having conversations with people. He's got 2 cars he restored. And so he started a show called Coaching in Cars. And so he's literally interviewing entrepreneurs and owners while he drives around in his Camaro or whatever. He's got another souped up car and stuff like that. What a great idea. He's fired up. They're enjoying it. Can you imagine how different it is to have a conversation? He's putting that stuff out on YouTube and creating content there. Got another coach that's very tied in with a decorated military service. So he's plugged into the military community in terms of that work. So each and every one of the coaches that we've had on the team, and then my background, it varies. So I think the thing to me on this biz dev thing is it's like everybody's looking for like the answer of the formula. There's not just one answer, one formula. You're going to have to make yourself uncomfortable for sure, but there's some things you're naturally good at that you should leverage in the midst of that. I think I'm better in small groups, small to medium sized groups, in terms of connecting with people, facilitating conversation, having the habit. It's not that I can't get on a big stage and do a keynote. I do. I just think I'm good at that. I want to work and even get better at that over time. I think there's opportunity for me to grow there, but I think I'm better in a small to medium sized group. I'm not going to be the guy that goes to that same networking meeting every week. That's not going to be what I'm going to be asked to come in and speak, facilitate, help people see things differently. And I'm naturally just curious. So a lot of my business, I was having this conversation with one of my coaches last week. I was like, I'm just curious a lot. I just ask a lot of questions because I actually want to know like what's going on in their business. And like, I'm actually not trying to sell them. And inevitably, I wound up in a sales conversation. I didn't really mean for that to happen. So I think there's one, just a commitment to it. And two, there is like coming, especially when, I remember having zero clients and like trying to have a conversation. I'm talking to Cam and I'm like, oh, I really want to close this deal. And I'm like, okay, Cullen, hold on a second. What you really need to do is serve Cam and serve his team and ask questions and see if this is even something that's a fit for him. Let go of the fact that you got zero income right now and you have zero clients. How do I do that in a way that serves him? So I think where you start from an internal perspective matters a ton. And then you just have to have consistent activity. And so there isn't a simple answer. And I know it's a struggle. And I'm just telling you, if you want to be an ambitious coach, you're going to have to solve it. And you're going to have to try some things and do it poorly. There's some things that I have done. I've done some videos that I'm like, oh my God, I can't even watch that again. I have spoken on some stages where I didn't feel like I did as well. I have been in certain rooms where I've absolutely crushed it and lit the place on fire, right? But I just have continued to not stop in that and engage in conversations. And I think commitment and curiosity are the two things that you need from a biz dev standpoint.
There is a little bit of I would say a flywheel that does
Oh,
start. I mean, you start
oh, for
doing those
sure.
actions, you start getting in and being
Yeah,
disciplined, whether it's posting on LinkedIn or
yeah,
being at, going out and speaking,
yeah,
being at events. Like you start to do those actions, and pretty soon that thing gets moving, and you've got something going there. So,
yeah,
yeah, that's great. On you mentioned a key point with kind of grouping marketing and biz dev together, and then your sales. Kind of what that I
yeah,
love that or that disclaimer, because I think that really is accurate, right? You have
yeah,
motions where you're going, and talk through a little bit of the marketing play, because that has been something, and just from observing, obviously have some closeness with being
yeah,
a former client, but kept up with you,
yeah,
right? And I've seen that where
yeah,
the marketing has really taken off in the
yeah,
last few years. Talk a little bit about that, of how that's fed into some business development, of how it's
sure.
related. But yeah, I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
So we have just stayed committed to it, even against advice in our industry that says, just go be on the right in the right rooms, on the right stages, and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's part of it, but I believe there's an opportunity to continue to build a brand, build a voice, influence people over time, become a thought leader in this, and that takes time. You got to build it over time to get that to have that happen. So everything from the very beginning of coming up with how we message around the brand, how the pages look on the website. So all of that, just was obsessed about that. I'm literally, what are we at, 5.5 years in? I've been through 4 websites. Like I don't ever want to do a website again. And I'm sure there's a fifth one coming at some point because I've just been obsessed about how does it sound? How does it look? Are we getting things to convert? Do we have the right content in terms of that? And website's not the only thing, but social's been the same way. What is the right thing to share? How long should it be? What mix of it are we doing? So we just don't stop. I just got off a call literally an hour ago talking through what went well so far this year from a social and from a marketing standpoint, and the things we need to build on in terms of that muscle for us. And so really looking at the data and making sure we're clear. So from a marketing standpoint, to me, it is just get started. And if you're not a marketing expert, which many people in the coaching space are not, that's okay. It's okay that you're not. Just start creating whatever content you might be great at writing. You might be great at video. You might be great live. Whatever your things are, again, I would leverage that as a starting point. So for us, marketing is not allowing there to just be just silence in the market. We have to continue to do that. And so you're right. Over time, it has evolved quite a bit. I've made a number of investments that did not turn out, like did not, and learned from each one of those. And we've done some things that have obviously positioned our brand in a pretty significant way in terms of what we command, in terms of price, and in terms of what happens with the clients that come to us expecting to and hoping to work with us because of the way we positioned it. So it's kind of a broad answer. I'm happy to go deeper, Cam, if there's something you want to dig into on that. But I mean, that's for us, marketing has been a commitment from the beginning. And I got to tell you, man, if there's a place where I get frustrated and I feel like, why can't we quite break through? Even though most people in our space would be like, wow, what you've done and the number of people and all this kind of stuff. But to me, I just feel still like so many things I'm satisfied about in this business, but I'm still like, what do we got to do to really feel great about this? So I feel good. I don't feel great. So anyway,
That would be the reason why you are labeled an ambitious coach. No, and I think there is an aspect of, obviously you have a brand with multiple coaches
yeah,
underneath, but I mean, and a lot of coaches, and I still feel like you tap into this because you mentioned the coach that has coaching in cars
yeah,
and the military aspect
yeah,
and the peer, like each one is, there's almost a level of personal brand that's
absolutely.
established as well.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, like, so to me, like, here's the reality. Like, our coaches, I mean, our clients choose us. They don't
Right.
I like my ex, I like my thing. They don't care. They don't care. They don't. They just want the result. And they want to know, are they with somebody they can trust? And part of the way they trust you is they get to know you. And part of the way they get to know you is you have a message in the market, which is called marketing. And so, yes, absolutely, people are going to associate with you. So if you have a brand, if you have a fancy name, if you have a logo, great. If not, listen, I've got a fantastic friend of mine who it's all based around her. Her whole brand is just her, and she's done an amazing job. There is no secondary brand in terms of that. So I wouldn't get lost in that piece. Marketing is not that. Marketing is you delivering a message to the market that can be heard by the people that need to hear your voice, that causes them to engage and consider, should I think about going further in the engagement? Doesn't mean I'm ready to buy. It means I'm ready to maybe engage in a conversation. It's an invitation to engage in a conversation. That's what marketing should be for you. And you're going to have to keep doing it, and you're going to have to never stop. Because even when you get a full, I'm at capacity. I'm at capacity as far as number of clients. I've set a target. I'm at that capacity. Guess who's not going to stop marketing? Guess who's going to not stop doing biz dev? Guess who's going to not stop doing sales? Why? Because I know at times things are going to change. I've had several clients have amazing opportunities to exit this year. Well, guess what? There's a spot I need to fill. We've had a couple other things go on with clients where it was like, I think you're good. And so there's always this thing. So even as you get going and you have a practice that may be at capacity, then you're still going to need to do it. So if you don't build that muscle early on, and this is the other thing, Kim, I see people do it in the beginning. They get to a certain level, they kind of go to sleep and it falls off the cliff. And then something happens in their practice and they turn like, I used to remember hearing, I was a part of a group and they always say, I got to start doing biz dev again. I'm like, why'd you
I
stop?
was yeah.
Why'd you stop?
Mm,
Now you may slow down to second gear, but why'd you stop?
mm.
Why'd you stop? So anyway,
That's good. And then once people have gone through, your marketing, your biz dev, and then getting into sales and you go through, talk a little bit. I mean, once you found those right clients, what are you all doing from a aspect of keeping them engaged
yeah,
throughout? Obviously they're meeting with, but kind of talk through that of how you're continuing to stack that value over
yeah.
time to keep them engaged to the point where if they do exit, great, you've got another spot, but there obviously is value creation during that time. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I will, and part of it kind of circles back to sales, which is we get clear up front whether they're a fit for us. And I mean that from the bottom of my heels. Like we literally are making sure this is a fit because we've taken some clients in the past where it was like, I'm not so sure that was a great fit. And we learned from that. And so now I had a massive opportunity 2 weeks ago. Somebody come to me and they were like, will you do this, this, and this, and we'll pay you all this. And I'm like, that sounds great, but you've told me about these two things. Those two things can't be true for me to be involved. They're like, you're telling me no. I was like, I am absolutely telling you no, even though we're making you this offer with equity and blah, 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 all this stuff. And I'm like, yes, I'm telling you no, because until I know what this looks like, I've seen this movie before. It doesn't matter the size of the check. So again, easier to say once you're further along, but I still think we were resolute on that up front. And we close people. We get people to say yes or no. So how do you keep them? You get them to make a clear commitment up front. So I think that gets lost sometimes as we're hoping people into the process. Once,
Absolutely.
yeah, once they're in, to me, it's about painting a picture, right? Painting a picture about where we're going to go, helping them see a bigger future that's possible with you that wasn't possible before that place. Once they're in, I'm constantly taking them, if you study Dan Sullivan with Strategic Coach and Gap in the Gain or any of those other methodologies, I'm constantly taking a client and go, man, look how far we've come. Look what's happened. Look how successful you've been. It's amazing. So proud of you, acknowledge you. And for those that don't own their successes, sometimes I'm punching them in the face being like, you're never satisfied. And that's why your team doesn't feel like they can win because you won't even celebrate all the cool stuff we've done over the last year and a half, 2 years. What's wrong with you? So it depends on who you got. So there's that piece. It's kind of looking back to where they are so they get that clarity. The other piece is then looking forward. What is it that I want to do? And what are the things that we need to develop? So once we've gotten the leadership team in a really good spot, where are the emerging leaders? Who's coming along? Do we have that squared away? What's happening there in terms of moving them? So to me, the key thing about keeping clients and retaining clients long term is helping them see all the progress they've made to date, and then asking them what it is that they want in the future, and then inserting yourself into that future possibility the same way you inserted yourself in what happened from the past. And to me, then retention is not an issue. And then lastly, listen, there's sometimes where there's clients where it's like, it's good. They've done their thing. They've done their thing. And so to me, it's also like a celebration to say, we did the work we said we were going to do. You're doing awesome. And I'm excited for you. And off you go. You know what I'm saying? And then there's others that do need to stay because of what's happening. We notice it tends to be the ones that are growing more in terms of product offerings, locations, people. They continue to need that because there's just so much happening in those. For the others to get to a really stable place, it's like, we can keep going. And for many of them, they choose to stay with us because they're like, you're our insurance policy that we don't F it up. But that's not always the case. And so I just don't get, I think the other piece of the equation is, we don't get overly attached. We love on our clients. We're glad they're here. But when we've done our job, we've done our job. And that's okay. Right.
And I think that ties straight into some of the other core competencies, right? I mean, you're clear on your vision. You're clear on who
Yeah.
you are, what value you bring,
Yeah.
and being able to say no. And then that ties straight into your offering as well.
Yeah.
Those are the two other, and then you've got mastery on kind of the back end that kind of weaves into all of those.
Right.
But you're clear on who you are and you're clear on your offering. And
Yeah.
that allows you to make sure you set clear expectations. And then you have a clear executed or not executed. We need,
Yeah.
and so that's great. I appreciate you sharing. So much.
Which came to that point, going back to using the tools and using 90 in our fit meeting before they are a client. We are declaring our core values to them, who we are and how we're going to operate, which part of is being willing to tell them hard truths, right? So we say what needs to be said regardless of risk. I'm telling the prospect up front, I am going to piss you off. I'm going to make your team uncomfortable. There's going to be tough moments. If that's not okay, that's cool. You just can't hang out with us. So like that clarity up front, and then our purpose around redefining freedom for them, for us, and for many others who will never know we exist, helping them understand what comes from our heart and soul and our connection from a spiritual standpoint, who our ideal clients are. We label that out. We share how they think, what they enjoy. We walk through our brand promises. So dude, the work that we do inside of getting clear about what our vision and strategy is, it's not just that we're clear, we're actually declaring it to the world in our sales process to tell them, this is who we are, these things. If this isn't a match, that's cool. We're not changing. And I'm telling you, there's something that's magnetic about that. And listen, dude, for some of that stuff, like my purpose statement took me 3 years to get right. But I kept turning it and kept turning it and kept turning it till it clicked. And now if you tried to change it, I'd fight you, right? Because I know it's right. But it took me 3 years. But that's where I think some of the coaches miss it. They won't stay in the question long enough and keep turning and working on their own vision and strategy. Even if it's just you, it doesn't have to be a team. It can be just you. But you're going to figure some things out over the first 1, 2, 3 years of your coaching practice.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right, because if I'm a client going through a process and trying to find a coach that's going to work, I'm going to hire that one that's crystal clear on
Yeah.
exactly where they're at, and I believe that they can help me. It's this. I see so much of this. Oh well, I'm going to try to appeal to all men and just kind of go in willy nilly. And no, I know this niche focus, and that's the reason we hired you. We went after that because we knew what we were going to
Right.
get, and you came in and we got that value from day one.
Right.
And I've told many people this. There is an art to being able to go in and facilitate and have that moment where you are going to piss us off and we're going to go through hard emotions,
Yeah.
having that fine line of being able to let that happen, but then also interjecting. And I feel like you have that perfect balance, which I'm sure has been gained over time of just
Sure.
facilitation.
Yeah.
But
It's reps, man. It's reps. I had a great mentor of mine. I had a chance to go present on his stage a few weeks ago, and I got off and he was like, holy crap, dude. I was like, what? He's like, man, I hadn't seen you present in forever. I was like, well, I'm approaching 500 sessions. So I've done it bad and then better and then better and better. And now I'm
I'm here.
basically pretty great at it. But yeah, it was a lot of reps. But to that point, Cam, what you were saying outside of me, think about it this way. I mean, with the company you were at before, there was another coach before me who
Yep.
wasn't capable, sure, nice person, wasn't capable of dealing with some of the challenges that were in that business, which opened the gap for him and why I stepped into it. So there was literally value commanded there and a price point commanded there that wasn't there previously. And so, the company you're with, it was real. It was real that the value of the coach came from a commitment to doing that and having that discipline around these core competencies.
Yeah. And this segues great into I always like to ask coaches, hey, if you were looking back with all the knowledge and experience you've had, the 500 sessions that you've gone through, what would you tell rookie Cullen who's just starting out, but you have all this knowledge? What
Yeah.
advice would you give him as he's getting started out?
Yeah. So there's a couple things. I love this question. So thank you for asking it. So, what I would tell rookie Cullen, no clients, sitting in California in the dark, trying to figure out down in this office with a few lights on, with some things scribbled on a whiteboard, keep going. Just keep going because it's going to work. If you don't stop, it will work. If you don't stop, it will work. And so for me, that's the number one thing. And just solve the next problem and just go help one person after the other, even if they're not a client. So keep going and just keep helping, keep being curious and asking questions. Don't get lost in all the things you aren't. Don't get lost in the people. I remember walking into a room and seeing some numbers on the board of other great coaches, and my mind, like, it was like it's like when you're riding your bike and the chain falls off and you're spinning, 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 but you're not going anywhere. That's basically what my brain did when I saw some of these numbers of what people have produced, and I was like, I got to block that out, right? And so what I would say is keep going, be curious, help as many people as you can, keep refining your message, share it anywhere you can. So literally, and especially in those early days, it was like, I would just tell them, keep sharing what's going on because you're going to hear it. You're going to watch reactions. Even if that person's not a prospect, even if it's a spouse of someone or somebody who works in a big corporation, ask you what you're doing. Because for a while, it just took me a while to find my message. So I would tell rookie Cullen, trust you've done the work necessary to do this. Keep going, be curious, help people, and then just keep communicating the message because that's what refines it. And as it becomes your true words that you're speaking from your bones, people are going to start coming to you. You're not going to have the same level of push to try to find clients and find opportunities. And when you get a chance to do work with clients, go do great work, singularly focused on them. And don't be afraid to step into tough moments. Don't be afraid to say the thing that needs to be said. And I'm a little bit fortunate in that, but there were still some moments of hesitation earlier on where I thought I knew, but I didn't have quite enough reps where I was like, well, this is a big thing for me to say out loud. This impacts companies. This impacts people's lives. I don't know. So there was a little bit of that hesitation. And so it was probably healthy, because of where I was experience-wise. But I would just, I have a high level of trust in myself, but I would just encourage him, that version of me, to truly trust that intuition, trust that inner knowledge, and just lean in. So long answer to your question, but I appreciate it very much.
That's a good word. I'd imagine there's quite a few listeners of this that are probably in that situation that
Yeah,
you
and we
you
deal with
pulled the trigger, and you
Yeah, we deal with our. I've got coaches on the team that are newer with us and
yeah,
finding their way through it. So this is a real conversation I have, regularly with my team in terms of the ones that are still building their book and what's happening and what they need to focus on and what activities they need to take. And it's just like, just keep going. Trust that we have the process down. And anyway.
yeah, that's good. On a more not that that wasn't personal, but on a more, let's just call it current. What's a lesson you're in the middle of learning right now in this current moment?
So, a lesson that I'm learning now for myself as a coach is that there's some specific skills that I have that can be deployed in very specific environments. And in the past, I was always willing to help as many people as I could. And that was awesome. And I'm super proud of that. That said, there's a set of skills that I have that are uniquely valuable in certain environments. And I'm really having to protect who I choose to work with directly. Now, I want to make sure we help as many entrepreneurs, founders, leaders out there as we possibly can. So I've expanded the coaching team. But for me, I've now seen some things where it's like, we did good work here, super proud. They're happy. I'm happy. But we did like phenomenal work over here. And it's taken enough of this time and looking at enough of these case studies and the work that we've done to see that. So that's a little bit of a lesson. And it feels like I even have a little trouble saying it because it feels like, well, I'm super awesome. that's not what I'm saying. I just been built a certain way. I've got certain God-given abilities and skills that need to be deployed in certain environments. So just getting really clear about who I am called to serve from a coaching standpoint. So that's a key lesson. I'd say the other lesson that I learned that was a little bit interesting this year, because we've got the coaching team. I'm so grateful for all of them that are on the team. Love that what we have. But I have a job to do as the founder and CEO of this company and the head coach of this company that they can't do. And that doesn't knock them. That their contribution is amazing. But I have been a little bit, I always thought of myself as someone who's going to be part of a team and we kind of collaborate on, and we do internally. But there's some things that I've had to do this year and I'm stepping into again right now where it's like, I've got to own that spot for me. So again, some of the coaches may not get there because they don't have it, but in some ways it still applies. So if it's just you almost still have to say, I am the founder and CEO and head coach of this, even if it's just you. Where's this thing going? What am I declaring we're going to do? And again, it gets back to the work that we do with our clients. You got to be doing. So I think those are some of the key lessons that they've been navigating and working through, especially in this last quarter.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Those are good, very timely. But man, thank you. We had Cullen Talley, the man, the myth, the legend. No, I appreciate you sharing just so much insights into how you run your practice, giving us a sneak peek behind the curtain, understanding some of your business development strategies. I know this is valuable. If someone does want to get in touch with you, what would you say is the best way to, if they've got questions, want to either talk to you about coaching or are a coach, have some questions about some of the things you talk about, where can they get in touch with you?
Yeah. So first place to go would be to exitmomentum.com. If you are a coach and seems like maybe, you've been running on your own and you think maybe I want to kind of hook my wagon, working with some other folks, being part of this kind of group. This sounds interesting to me. There's a process that you go through to be vetted and an interview process and everything else in terms of that is not simple, is not easy. And there's an explanation on how we do that. But you would go to exitmomentum.com under the coaches tab, become a coach is there. If you're a client, then same place, just you will wind up booking a call and we would then route you based on specialty, size, and geography to the right coach on our team. So happy to support any of those and answer questions where we can. And we believe truly that if we help enough people and we answer enough questions, whether or not they hire us, good things happen because that's how we've gotten to where we are. So feel free to reach out. We'll try to be as responsive as we possibly can.
Love that. Yep. As a former client, I can say they do great work. So, well, hey, thank you so much for listening.
Sure.
We will link out to all of the things that we've referenced here. Cullen referenced a couple tools. I referenced a couple resources internally at 90. We will put all that in the show notes. If you are an ambitious coach, you want to learn more about this, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to reach out and set up a time to be able to talk with you to deep dive into some more of these core competencies. Again, we talked through really just 2 in depth. There are 5. There are all sorts of things. We help coaches grow and build and scale their practices on a daily basis. So feel free to reach out. Happy to talk with you and have a great rest of your day. That's it for today's episode of the Ambitious Coach Lab. My hope is that something here helps you sharpen your craft and keep building a coaching practice you're proud of. Before we wrap, a quick thank you to our sponsor, 90. If you're coaching leadership teams, having your clients run their entire world in 90 truly elevates your work. Vision, rocks, scorecards, issues, it all lives in one centralized place. The clarity keeps your clients aligned between sessions and makes every conversation you have with them more focused and more impactful. I've used 90 with over 500 leadership teams, and I can tell you it makes great companies better and great coaches even more effective. Feel free to use promo code AC20 for 20% off. Again, that's AC20 for 20% off. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I'm Cam, cheering you on as you grow your ambitious coaching practice. We'll see you next time.